Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. Every so often I go back and watch some of my older videos and I feel the need to do an update video. My experiences may have changed over time, my opinions may have changed over time, and sometimes I just want to go back and redo something. So what am I talking about today? Well, I've done a couple of videos, probably going on 2 or 3 years ago now, regarding Smith and Wesson Jframe revolver grips and what I liked and what I didn't like. I had bought a whole bunch of grips at one point in time and sold just about all of them off, and I had settled on basically what was the modern Smith and Wesson like Model 60 J-frame revolver grip. They're a little bit longer than a standard one. They have finger grooves, but over time my experiences with those have changed a little bit, and I wanted to give an update video on what I use now for my Smith and Wesson J-frame revolver grips. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, and this is my Paul Harrell shirt. Legends live forever. I learned everything I know about survival from Paul Harrell. So I went back in my history of my videos and looked at the date that I released my first grip video for the Smith and Wesson Jframe, and it was in January of 2022, so it's just over 2 years since the original video. And in that original video, what I had was a J. Scott conversion grip, an Uncle Mike's boot grip, a Safariland combat grip, a vintage Pachmayr gripper grip, and then the factory original square butt and round butt J-frame grips. Just about 2 weeks after the original video, I found even more grips. I found a Hogue mono grip, a Uncle Mike's combat grip, a Smith and Wesson combat grip, which would have come on like a Model 60, a Hogue bantam grip, and I decided to once again try to find which one of these grips I liked the best of all. So I went back and tried some of those grips again. I went back to the Pachmayr gripper on the 3-inch J-frame, and this probably is my favorite grip on this gun when I take it out to the range. I tried a laminate rosewood grip. I think it's made by PMG Grips on eBay. That one I had on my Model 49 for a while, and it's really nice. It's comfortable. It's a little bit bulky, and it's not fit perfectly to the gun, so every once in a while it would dig into my fingers a little bit or walk around on the gun. I even went so far as to do something that might be considered somewhat blasphemous to Smith & Wesson gun holders. I got a set of square butt wood grips from a Taurus Model 85 revolver. Now the frame on the Taurus Model 85 and the Smith & Wesson Jframe are almost identical. The main difference between the two of them being that the centering pin on the bottom of the frame is in a different location, but with a little bit of patience and a Dremel, you can actually Dremel out a second hole and make them fit pretty well on a J-frame revolver. Now it wasn't perfect, the gaps were a little bit messed up, but this is a super comfortable option for a J-frame if you want to try it and if you can get over the fact that it says Taurus. Another great grip that I tried, which is actually staying on my Model 36 J-frame round butt, is one of these Cocobolo banana grips. Super comfortable, super controllable, great when you're shooting, still very concealable, slippery against your cover garments. Another one that I went back and tried again was the Hogue mono grip for the J-frame. I really like the way these fit. They're very snug on the revolver. I like the retention mechanism. There's no exposed screw on the sides of the frame. It's actually on the bottom of the butt. They're very grippy, but not so rubbery and grippy that they grab your clothing. So again, on my 3-inch J-frame right now, it's wearing the Pachmayr gripper, which is very comfortable, awesome to shoot, fits great in the hand, and they're relatively inexpensive. You can still get them for around $20. The Cocobolo banana grip, which sometimes you can find between $50 and $100, and then the Hogue mono grip, and this is actually the old style one. I'll talk about it a little bit more towards the end of the video. But if I'm going out and trying to find new grips for a new gun that I'm just purchasing, what I always fall back on at this point in time are these Uncle Mike's grips. The Uncle Mike's combat grip, which is the 3-finger version that I have here on my Model 60 and on my Model 442, and then the boot grip, which I have here on my Model 637. These are relatively inexpensive. You can still find them online for between $30 and $50 a grip if you pay attention and look for long enough. And they're just really well-made, good quality grips. Again, at the end of my second video that I did about grips, I had kind of settled on the Smith and Wesson rubber grips that you'd find on a Model 60, but I've had a couple of those break where the little stud that holds the screw in would snap off over time, or they would loosen up and pull the pressed in stud out so the screws would not remain tight and the grips would be all loose on the gun. This is why I reverted back to the Uncle Mike's grips. They're really tight on the gun when you tighten them down because the nut goes in from the opposite side of the screw. They're not necessarily just pressed in or molded in. They hold very tight on the gun. They're comfortable to carry. They are a little bit on the thick side, but that makes shooting a lot more enjoyable. So again, my fallback is the Hogue mono grip, the Uncle Mike's boot grip, and the Uncle Mike's combat grip. These work really well. And just for reference, the Hogue grips that I have is the model 60,000. It's actually the old design. I like the old design better. You can usually get them really cheap and they're a little bit better look. The new design are just as good, but I just don't like the little design that they put on the bottom with that line with the logo. It just doesn't appeal to me. And for the Uncle Mike's combat grips, the model number is 59007. You can still find them online. And again, this is how they look on that 442. Gives it a really good look, a great grip hold, and they're really well designed. And then if you wanted the boot grip, the Uncle Mike's is model number 59010. This is actually the original grip that came on my Model 637 back from 2015. And I've taken it off and put it on so many times, now I just leave it on the gun because it works that well. So you might ask yourself, James, how could you possibly do 3 full-length videos on Smith and Wesson Jframe grips? Well, it's just one of those things. I'm not OCD about a lot of stuff, but there are some things that I really take a lot of time and put together and research and test. And tires are one thing. I always spend way too much time looking at new tires for my truck when I need new tires. And grips is another thing. You got to try them out. You got to like what you put on your gun. You got to like shooting it. It's the same thing like I've said before. Nobody can really tell you what gun is right for you. You have to try it out. You have to make sure it works for you and you're comfortable shooting it and carrying it. So thanks again for watching another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. God bless America. Make sure you support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot. And you remember, if someone asks you to give up some of your freedom for the greater good, remind them that freedom is the greater good.